horror movies.
Yeah, that's mostly what Blumhouse does is horror. That's their shtick, their bread and butter.
Yeah. Hmm.
But
Interesting.
despite difficulties, we are live. Welcome to the Vomitorium, everyone. As always, I'm your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Great. I'm in what looks like an orange room. The lighting in here is a little bit orange.
Yeah, it's kind of salmony, kind of peach almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the walls are kind of pink or something.
It's got like a if you ordered an orange Julius or something, it's that kind of creamy color. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on location. I'm actually not in a hotel. I'm in a house.
That's good. It's like a B&B, or are you being hosted by the employment?
It belongs to somebody at my company. I don't know if it's the CEO or someone else, but
you're being housed by the employment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on a work trip. I'm basically at my new company's HQ, and yeah, somebody had a house and they're not here, so they just
That's cool.
let me stay at the house. Yep. So, but I'm here and they have Wi-Fi, so
Yeah. I mean, they better put you up if they're gonna fly you all the way out there.
yeah, really.
It's like, no, we're just gonna fly you here, but you're gonna have to bring a tent and be outside the whole time.
Yeah. Or pay for your own hotel or something. No, they're even paying for they give me a per diem for food and stuff. Yep.
That's pretty good.
All in the company time.
Timothy Olthen says,
getting...
wait, Marsupial Gamer is not black? I don't know where that comes from. He's been on this show how many times now?
I'm more orange right
now.
Yeah, that seems to be, what was that? Somebody asked me that, I think, in a live stream or something, but I don't remember. It's been a few days, so
that's weird.
Block that.
It's a weird question to ask somebody, period, though, unless they're like making some claims that need to line up or something. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It was Jay Dalla on I think maybe Dillard stream.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah, Jay Dalla asked me if I was black. I was like, what? Why?
Yeah, that's a
Why are you
question
asking
to
me?
ask someone.
I don't think I answered because I'm like, what? None of your business.
Yeah, like I could see some situations where that question might come up, like if some disembodied voice was just slinging around slurs or something, you might ask that, but otherwise, like, that's just a weird question to ask someone.
Yeah, I don't think I was doing that.
Yeah. And hey, Fishozo.
Oh, I know. All I was doing was arguing with him about what wireless controller John Dillard should get.
That's
he thought we should just get
weird transition.
Yeah, it was Jay Dalla. Yeah, I don't understand where that question came from, but he thought that Dillard should get an Xbox controller and just use that for his PC. And I said, no, get an 8-bit dough.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure an Xbox controller would have been fine, but probably more expensive.
Oh yeah. Because if you're gonna buy anything new, it's gonna be the price of buying a video game at minimum. Like the normal standard is gonna be like $60, but most of their controllers they're charging more for than now.
Yeah. Plus the one I suggested was on sale for Black Friday, so
yeah.
I was like,
no, I think I would run backwards because I could probably get one really cheap now and probably get like a 360 controller, because I think of all the Xbox controllers, that's actually the one that feels the best in the hands.
And that works as a Bluetooth on the PC?
You have to get an adapter for it, but I think the old wireless 360 and the adapter is probably still cheaper than getting a new Xbox controller.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the nice thing with this one is it's just, no adapter needed.
Yeah.
You can connect to anything. You can use it as a Switch Pro controller if you wanted to. I use it even to connect to my phone and play games on the phone.
Why are video game
works.
controllers so expensive? Because the companies decided that they are going to be, and they have not been punished for deciding that they're going to be. Some of them I get, like they do spend a lot of R&D on these new controllers, but they're basic line controllers. There's no reason for them to be 60. Like I've done some of the math on like the parts and stuff, and they, aside from when they added that little like touch area to the PS4 controller, they haven't really done much to change the insides of their controller. I think they've added some gyroscopic stuff. It should probably at most cost like $38 to like $42, right? Like I'm trying to add a little for inflation, but they get away with it, right? It's as expensive as the market will handle before they get punished that nobody's buying their controllers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually had to perform surgery on my PS5 controller. For some reason, I guess I dropped it like a couple of feet onto the floor, and then after that, the triangle button stopped working. That was the only thing. It just completely wouldn't work. All I did, I found a thing, that said repair your own controller, and it walks you through the process of opening it up, which was very difficult and complicated. Like compared to like a Joy-Con, that's simple. That's very, very simple. But all I did was put it up. I I sprayed a little, like I guess I wiped off the little what do you call it, the pad under the buttons, and then I put it all back together and it worked. So I don't know why it broke, but I mean, I guess maybe it had some gunk in there. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. That's another problem with why they're getting so expensive, is that they're making all their controllers with proprietary parts. But the thing is, they're barely proprietary, right? Like they make them themselves with like custom fits. But once like some other company gets a hold of the controller, they take it apart like, oh, that's easy to make, and then they'll go and make it, and you can't patent a button, right? And so they'll go and they'll just make a actually better replacement part than the stupid piece of crap that they overcharged in their actual controller.
Yeah. Well, so Timothy's asking, so the 8BitDo controller that I suggested, that Dillard actually bought, is currently not on sale, and it's $48 on Amazon. But I think when it was on sale, it was maybe 30 or something like that, or 35.
Yeah, 48 is more reasonable. I'd have to look at the controller. And I'm even sure this was the PS4 and Xbox One era when I was looking at how much it would, like, did the math for how much the plastic and boards and all the pieces in the controller were. It should have been about like 38 then. Maybe it's probably closer to like 42, 45 now. I doubt the PS5 and Series X controllers are like fundamentally that much different that it would drive the price up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put a link to it in the chat in case you're interested. Actually, that one is actually 47, but you could probably wait and see if it goes on sale again.
I think my favorite controller, this one, I have one that is Bluetooth. It costs about the same. I don't like it as much though because it requires AA batteries for some reason. Like, no, we're not going to make a rechargeable battery. You can have AA. But I like this, the PowerA controller, right? So I prefer my corded one. And it's basically just 100% a GameCube controller, but with all the the features that a modern controller has. So it has like the L3, R3 button in the middle. It's got the other shoulder button that the GameCube controller didn't have. And it's got like your home minus buttons and stuff. So it's basically a Pro controller that is built out of the parts of a GameCube controller. And I like it better than Nintendo's modern GameCube controller Pro controllers because their shoulder buttons suck. They're not the actual GameCube controller shoulder buttons. And PowerA managed to reconstruct the GameCube controller shoulder buttons. So, I don't know. This is my favorite controller.
Yeah, the original GameCube shoulder, I remember, was very, I don't know, clicky or something. There was something unique about it.
Yeah, the trigger angle was pretty unique too, and the shapes.
Yeah.
Like I really like it. This is my favorite controller. It doesn't work as well on the Switch. I could feel a slight delay on it compared to when I use it on my computer. It's normally not that bad, though if you play it on a screen that's not calibrated well, and the screen has a delay, both of those things adding up on each other is a nightmare. Like, I refuse to play out in the garage because they never have the screen calibrated. But this was, like, I think $30.
Oh,
And
cool.
actually, no, this one might have been 20. Maybe I ended up paying close to 30 because of shipping and stuff, but this was a pretty cheap controller.
Yeah, if I ever want to get into like the N64 games on Switch, they're really hard to play without an N64
Oh,
controller.
yeah, because they were designed for it.
Yeah, and Nintendo's N64 controller is ridiculous. It's like $80 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, if I could, and they're hard to come by, I would probably just get I would have to get an adapter, obviously, because you can't use an actual N64 controller on a Switch without an adapter. But there is a 64 to USB adapter for PC that I believe also works with Switch. I would just get a Hori Mini pad, I think is what it's called, or a Hori Pad Mini. They have a 64 controller that basically looks like a GameCube controller. Everything's in the right place, but obviously it's got like the C buttons instead of a C stick, and it's it's much better.
And is it
Everything's in the right
wireless?
place. No, that one's wired, so
Oh.
eh.
Does that work with the Switch?
Yeah,
would that-
there are some USB adapters that I think might work with the Switch. You just have to make sure you have the right one, because there's already like people make USB adapters for like 64 controllers, NES controllers, SNES controllers, so that you can use the actual controller to play emulators on your system. It just means that the adapter needs the firmware to encode it inside that piece of hardware before it hits the Switch. Which means it'd have to be a more recent adapter if somebody made it, because it would need information specific to the Switch to work.
Yeah. Well,
So I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but that's what I would prefer if I could get it to work.
there must be a third-party wireless, though.
Probably, maybe.
Wireless. Oh.
I couldn't imagine playing Mischief Makers, which I don't think they've added to the system yet, without a 64 controller. That would be one of the worst ones. Or, oh, they're actually adding one of my favorite actually probably my favorite Nintendo 64 game to the Switch Online, which is Jet Force Gemini, and that one would be a pain in the ass to play without a N64 controller. You ever played
Did I
Jet
see
Force
they're
Gemini?
adding? I've never. No. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. It's a rare game.
That is. I thought they were adding something that. What was it?
I
Was it
don't
Animal
know.
Crossing? I don't know. There was something in there that I thought was already there, but apparently not.
They should put the original Animal Crossing on there, like the 64 one that got ported to GameCube, only available in Japan. That would be interesting.
Oh, I know. It was. They're putting Harvest Moon 64 on there.
That's a good one. But I would love that
But,
if the original. It was never called Animal Crossing, because that version never came here. It was ported to GameCube later, which in the GameCube version in Japan is called Dobutsu no Mori Plus, but we just know it as Animal Crossing Population Growing. But the original Dobutsu no Mori was for the 64, and you could only play it in a Japanese system that had the it was like a mount that went on the bottom of it. Like you mounted your 64 on top of it, and that's what did like the internal clock and everything for the game.
That's weird.
Yeah. It's a very weird circumstance, and there's no wonder they never ported it to the 64 outside of Japan. They just waited until the GameCube for people to play that game.
Oops. Oh, the YouTube autoplay something.
Autoplay. Get it out of here. Hate
Well,
autoplay.
since I don't know what's going on in the world, what's going on?
I got some stuff. Okay, let's talk about some things. Oh shoot, I accidentally just hit an X. Let me recently close tab. There we go. Oh, I killed off one of our stories before we even got to read it because I was clicking through to see which one we wanted to start up. So here is something that was in the news recently. You probably heard a bunch of people talking about it, where in Assassin's Creed there was a in-game pop-up ad for like Ubisoft that showed like other games and stuff like that. Well, Ubisoft has come out and made an official statement that says that the pop-up ads were a technical glitch.
Mm-hmm.
That they
Didn't
were not
say
intended
that
to
before?
happen.
I
Yeah,
know this
yeah.
happened before.
I just don't think we covered it.
Yeah, but I mean, they not about this, but they said it like this happened before, like a couple of years ago, and they claimed again that it was a glitch or something.
Yeah, like they keep building it into these games just in case, right? Because the only
Yeah.
ads we ever see are for other Ubisoft stuff, like Assassin's Creed or something.
Right.
But the ads are clearly built for third parties, like they're going to be using it as an ad service. I feel like they're building it into their system so they can use it, but it's not ready yet. Like they don't actually have advertisers or anything that will actually use the service. So of course it's a technical glitch. They're not triggering it. I actually believe them on this. It's just really sad that they're building in the system because we know it's coming, right? We know that they are going to be having these pop-up ads whenever they get the advertisers for it.
Apparently, that's so weird. Like, is it just during a loading screen? Is that what it was?
I didn't see it. I've only heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to have popped up a sample ad that they made in their own, like in-house. And it was for the Black Friday deal on Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Yeah. And it's in a game that they.
It was in the
released.
older. It was the previous Assassin's Creed game, prompting you to buy the new one, which means and that probably was the ad, or the same game that people had seen it previously years ago, right? It just got triggered now, and if it got triggered now, that means they probably are working on their ad service, right? There was probably some blunder in house where they triggered something that wasn't supposed to trigger while working on something. So I can only imagine within this next year, we're probably going to start seeing ads in a bunch of the games. Well, we probably won't. I doubt they'll be in games that we play, but a lot of people that play AAA games are going to be seeing a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Dining Sock, who apparently, hypothetically, might be a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. And Froggy100 says, "What is this stream about?"
Games, films, comics, or whatever. You know, we just talk about news and digital entertainment. And also, I don't know, whatever we get sidetracked on. We get sidetracked a lot.
Yeah. Welcome in. I'm not usually in this weird, orangey room. I'm traveling for work. So.
In Purgatorio.
That's right. I'm halfway to hell because it's not quite red, it's just orange. And the flames start coming up. Actually, no, it's so cold here, it's more like Dante's hell.
Yeah. And the final layer where the Satan was like halfway frozen in a lake.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is kind of close to where the name Hell comes from, right? Because it comes from Helheim, the Nordic underworld, which is frozen.
Oh yeah.
Donkey Kong Country needs new games. It's been way too long. I 100% agree. But the only person or studio that makes Donkey Kong Country games now is Retro Studios, and they're kind of like neck deep in Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the last one that came out was basically a port from the Wii U to the Switch, right?
I think so, yeah. The Tropical Freeze, which I think wasn't
Freeze,
there also a top? I thought that one was already a port, or unless they deported it to the 3DS, because I think there was already 2 versions of Tropical Freeze.
Really? I thought it just
Or was
the
the
Wii U.
3DS the original Donkey Kong Country Returns that was ported?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember they did one of them to the 3DS.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Tropical Freeze was only on the Wii U, and of course that system was horrible. Or well,
Yeah.
did
I know
horrible.
the Switch port has the Funky Kong mode in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they added a bit to it, but I mean they did come out. Wait, has it come out yet? Or it's going to come out? A remake of the Mario versus Donkey Kong game
Yeah.
that was originally on the Game Boy Color, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Color.
Or-
I don't think it was the Game Boy before Color. I think it was Game Boy Color when the first one might have come out.
I think actually it was one of those ones that where you could play it on both. So you could play it on the original Game Boy, but if you played it on the Color, it had colors.
Oh, so then it probably wasn't made for the Game Boy Color. If it came around that time, it was made with the Super Game Boy on the SNES in mind, which had color coding in it,
Yes.
which transferred to the Game Boy Color as well.
Right. Yeah, I remember because I played it. I had it. I played it from beginning to end. It's a great game. It starts out.
So
like
I'm saying
just
that it's
normal-
not, because when I'm looking up Mario vs. Donkey Kong, it says the first one was on Game Boy Advance.
Well, but hold on. Why is this telling me to switch to my iPhone microphone? Not doing that. It was originally just called Donkey Kong on the Game Boy.
Yeah. Well, because they made like
And-
Donkey Kong 3 on Game Boy.
Yeah, but this was just called Donkey Kong. And when you started it up, it was like the original Donkey Kong arcade game.
Yeah.
But after the last fourth stage, it kept going, and suddenly it became a very long, complex puzzle game. Where you were
Yeah, but
trying to
I
find
think
the
what they're
keys to the door.
remaking is the Game Boy Advance one called Mario vs. Donkey Kong.
I don't think so. Like I think they called it that. I don't know. I'm confused because
It releases
I was pretty sure.
February of next year. You could pre-order it now. I am on the release page for it on the Switch.
Yeah.
eShop. And what I'm looking at, it looks like the Game Boy Advance Mario versus Donkey Kong. Just
Okay.
in 3D. I remember the
was
game you're
probably
talking about.
Yeah. That was probably a sequel to this game, so it's probably the same sort of gameplay, but
Well, Mario vs. Donkey
know.
Kong was designed to basically be a successor / sequel to the original Donkey Kong series that they made.
yeah.
Which is why you see Paul.
Yeah, I
Leisure
guess
back
you're
up
right.
in it.
Yeah, let me see here. No, wait a minute. Okay. Blah 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 blah. I'm reading the Wikipedia on the new game that's coming out in February. It was originally intended to be a remake of Donkey Kong for the Game Boy.
Mhm.
And it features many of the mechanics present in that game. Blah blah blah. That's all it says. It is. It's a remake
okay.
of Donkey Kong.
Well, maybe a lot of
mean-
the levels in Mario vs. Donkey Kong were also remade because, like, I'm looking at it and some of the shots are like 1-to-1.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh. Okay. So yeah, this is a very complicated history. All right. The Game Boy Advance game was a remake of the Game Boy game.
Okay. That explains why the
Switch
shots
game-
look 1-to-1.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's all the same freaking game. This
Yeah.
is the third
Like, I knew the
time.
game you were talking about, I had never played
Yeah.
that one. I had only played the Game Boy Advance one.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I
like,
didn't
I'm
realize.
just confused here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I've figured it out.
I
That's
do
why it's
know
confusing.
that is the game where it had a different name, but it's where the idea of New Donk City comes from.
Hmm.
It was called like
Yeah.
New Ape City or something like that. It was basically the exact same place. It just had a different name back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and those
Yeah.
levels were originally on the Game Boy game. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is just happens to be the second time they've remade that game.
Okay. That makes
I don't know
sense.
if it's a
It's not the
remake
first
or
time that
remake.
they've done a remake of a remake at Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. That clears up the confusion. They're all the same freaking game.
But I agree with Froggy here. Donkey Kong needs more love. He doesn't get enough.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend that game. It's
Yeah.
a cool puzzle game, and like I said, I had the original. I played it on the Super Game Boy, which was the adapter for the SNES, and even in that one, like it even had like it had special what do you call it, wallpaper as well in the background that was built into it just for the Super Game Boy.
Yeah. And any of those games that could be played on normal Game Boy that happened to have color prior to the Game Boy Color weren't even being made with the Game Boy Color in mind. They were being made because the Super Game Boy on the SNES was available. And
I guess, yeah.
then they realized that you could do the Game Boy Color, but they started making games that were Game Boy Color only. Like they even had that kind of bulged out instead of bulge in on the cartridge, so you knew.
Yeah, and you actually couldn't. There was like a little notch, so you couldn't put it into an old Game Boy. Those ones.
Donkey Kong is going to be Seth Rogen from here on, unfortunately, Fizchoso says. Yeah, only in Illumination, though. He's not going to be in the video games, at least as of the way things are now. Donkey Kong doesn't speak in the video games either. He just makes, like, ape sounds that... well, I guess you could consider them ape sounds. They're kind of uncannily ape-like. I've heard apes make sounds somewhat similar to what Donkey Kong does, but... they're clearly made with somebody's mouth.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess this specifies that this is a remake of the remake. So
Yeah.
it has some of the new features
It's
that the
a-
remake
it's a
had.
three-make.
The original didn't have. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I never played the Game Boy Advance version.
That's the only one I played, and I
all
didn't
I
even
get
play
this
it when it was new. I don't think. I think I had a version of it on the 3DS, a virtual console, and that's the only way I ever played it. Like I didn't get into, what was it, Mario vs. Donkey Kong until Minis March Again was actually the first one that I played.
Yeah.
So I didn't even play the first March of the Minis.
Yeah. Yeah. Now those were actually like sequels.
Yeah, to this specific game.
Right. I don't even remember. I mean, I was so young when the first one came out. I don't remember if I knew at first. I mean, it must have been like on the box that there were like additional levels beyond the original 4 in Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
It did actually. It was funny was that it made the original Donkey Kong game super easy, barely an inconvenience, because it gives Mario a lot of new moves. Like he can do like a triple jump, like a high jump, all this other stuff that made those.
The original Donkey
first
Kong
4
is
levels.
super easy.
Yeah, but this made it like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
it was almost impossible to die because you could like jump so high you could just jump right to the next level. Like, but then it goes into the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Where the hell is Metroid Prime 4?
It's
They're working on it.
yeah, it's in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the oven cooking. That's what we got to wait. And then after it's done baking, it's got to rest for a bit too. It's the most important part of baking.
That'll be good. That'll be good. Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm trying to get us on track. Forgot what I was going to do. Oh, PlayStation. So, Sony Interactive Entertainment has been making a big deal with NCSoft. Are you familiar with NCSoft?
Yeah.
Yeah. The company that's mostly known for like MMOs, Lineage, Guild Wars, things like that. And it looks like they are trying to expand their range outside of the console market. Finally, we've kind of we've seen rumors of this going around, talking about it almost all year, but this is like the first actual sign, aside from their initial Epic deal, which they're not really doing business with Epic anymore after those original deals, that they're actually trying to expand outside of consoles. It was inevitable. It doesn't look like consoles are really working too well for anyone but Nintendo right now. Microsoft is kind of already focused more on the fact that a lot of their player base is on PC than on their actual consoles anyway, and I think Sony's trying to not be left in the dust with that.
I guess.
Mm.
So what are they doing? I guess they haven't really said what they're
Well, it's
expanding
so
to.
one of the things they're trying to collaborate in various global business fields. So they're also trying to get into more markets. Sony's very popular in Europe. It's very popular here. It's even, it's regaining popularity in Japan. They kind of lost some of that. But it's not super popular in, say, like, South America. It's hit or miss down there. And it's not super popular. Oh, heard myself there. It's not super popular in Southeast Asia outside of Japan, really. Somewhat in Korea, it's been gaining some favor. Which, I mean, NCSoft would help with that a lot. I think they're just trying to dive into those other markets. That would help. And they're also mentioned that mobile is one of the global business fields that they're trying to get into.
I mean, aren't there? No, I'm thinking of. I mean, they have a mobile app, but I was thinking of Square Enix. They have lots of mobile games and things.
Yeah, no, Sony only has their like PlayStation app that works with the PSN and all that. They don't really have any mobile. And I think that's the thing that they're worried about, being left in the dust, because everybody else is doing mobile now.
Yeah. Well, the latest mobile devices are all very powerful, so
Yeah.
if they want to make games for them, they would probably work.
A big problem there, though, is
Alrighty.
even as powerful as they are, making games for them kind of goes against Sony's principle with game development and game design. It's probably why it's been taking them so long to want to jump into it, because even the most powerful phones are still more on the level of like the end of the life cycle for the PS4, not the PS5.
Yeah. Well, that was Nintendo's sort of attitude towards it, and then they went ahead and did like Super Mario Run, which was great, and then the Mario Kart game, which was terrible. The mobile Mario Kart game.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
Cynical Bleat.
Hi.
AKA Woody.
Welcome. Well, that's interesting. Did you know? I think, unless I'm confusing it with something else, after Origin Systems closed around 2001, I believe, Richard Garriott went to work for NCSoft for a couple of years and worked on Lineage 2, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know he worked on Lineage 2. That's cool.
Yeah.
Lineage is a good game. I think it's not really too much for me. I wouldn't say I have a lot of fun with it, but I can appreciate it when I'm playing it. Definitely a good game. So it makes sense that 2 is a game that he worked on, because 2 is a good game as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Cynical Blast says, I do not sound like an antipode. What is an antipode?
Well, it's Cynical Bleat, like the sound that a sheep makes, sheep's bleat.
Oh, bleat. I thought it was an
Yeah.
S, sorry.
Yeah.
I got Cynical Bleak confused with Critical Blast.
I think that's part of why the name is like that.
Oh, person from Australia, or New Zealand.
Well, we have marsupial.
Haven't-
Well, a single marsupial here in North America called the opossum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. What's his name? Booster Kiwi. He is a genuine Kiwi. Antipode means feet on the wrong end. I joined this live late and I don't even know what it is about, says Beyond Pretty as well. Welcome. You'll soon find out.
Well, at the moment, we're just talking about how Sony is making deals with NCSoft and other companies because I do honestly feel like they have felt like they're being left in the dust. They've put all of this investment into their consoles, but then they're seeing that in general, around the world, people aren't playing on consoles anymore. Outside of like the Switch, but people are playing the Switch because they're not playing it like a console. The Switch Lite is one of their best sellers. I keep hearing myself. Only like sporadically. Yeah, I'm getting only like sporadically. Am I getting echo? It's probably when the echo cancellation on Discord fails is probably
what is happening.
Maybe I should use my iPhone as a
maybe. But yeah, aside from people playing on Switch, which is technically a console, in general, phones are where most gaming is at. So if they keep putting more effort into their consoles than anywhere else, they are being left in the dust. I mean, look at how low in sales both the Xbox and PlayStation generations are having right now, Ryan. Xbox being half of PlayStation.
Right now, Ryan. Xbox being.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I
Is
can.
that better?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
mic quality is about the
Is
same.
it better or worse?
I don't hear any echo, so.
Okay. We'll keep that. I'm using my phone as a microphone,
Okay.
which apparently is a thing. I don't know. We're kind of experimenting here because I am out of town on business, so
Out of town, forgot your headphones.
out of my usual. I forgot my headphones as well. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So what's the phrase? Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. That's
But
right.
yeah, Nintendo Switch is life. Blanca Cruz, I agree. It's where most of the sales are that aren't on mobile. Everything else is on mobile. In fact, mobile is kind of tied with the Switch. Consoles are slightly beating out mobile, but most of what is the console is the Switch. If you take it away, mobile's beating out console entirely. Like, it's not even close.
Consoles are.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I know they go back and forth. Mobile probably is just going to make more money in the long run. I don't think consoles will ever catch up again. Sony's realizing that, and they just need to make mobile games, or at least get their stuff playable on mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he just drink from the bottle? Yes, I drank directly from the bottle. I do that all the time.
Oh, what are you drinking?
I have Pepsi.
Oh, directly from the 2-quart
Yeah.
bottle. I got my little mini can here. Also Pepsi. Interestingly enough.
See, was my previous statement false? Let's see. Although consoles can have more complex games than phones, they don't because of accessibility? Let me think about that. I don't know if accessibility is a reason why they're not as complex. Because there are console games that are more complex than there are on the phone, that aren't limited by accessibility. Yeah. I think the idea of accessibility is currently hurting console games, especially if we're looking at PlayStation, like Sony specifically, where they make these brain-dead games that are basically walking simulators in between bursts of action and story. But they are more complex than they are on phones in different ways that you're not directly experiencing, that for a lot of these games don't even necessarily benefit the game, right? Like graphically, they're more complex. They're rendering more polygons, more reflections of light and stuff than your phone could handle. So they are more complex. They don't necessarily make the games more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything, just about anything out there that could theoretically do as, complex graphically a game as the PS5. I mean, I think that's probably the most powerful system out there.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
the series is about close. It's negligible of a difference. Even
Sure.
the insiders have said that, but Xbox just doesn't really have
But-
any games to make you want to buy that over a PlayStation at the moment.
Yeah. And PlayStation, the problem is they've not really come up with a game that's fun enough, I guess,
Yeah.
to be a system seller.
Yeah, like there's a lot of
Talking
games that
about
I'd probably
mechanics. Well, I mean, that's all.
have some fun for a while if I already had a PlayStation, but they don't have one that would sell the system to me.
Because Joe's was talking about mechanics. I mean, that's all up to the developer.
Yeah, and it's not like because you can have complex mechanics on a phone. That's not a problem, especially if you're looking in Southeast Asia, where phone gaming is the primary way that they do gaming. A lot of them have like these like clip-on like Joy-Cons or whatever, like a controller that you can use for your phone that kind of turns it into a small Switch. Or some people just have a wireless controller they carry around. They'll just mount their phone up and they'll play looking at a tiny screen. You can do just as complex mechanics on there. I mean, look at some of the Hoyo games, right? They put a whole bunch of buttons on the screen. Genshin has some fairly complex mechanics in it that are about on par as most console games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I can see where it might be difficult because unless you just like require a wireless controller, theoretically you just got your touchscreen. So it's like, you don't have whatever it is, 20 buttons
Yeah.
to deal with. So,
But I mean,
They do.
modern screens allow multi-touch, right? So you can hit multiple buttons at the same time. Games they can just be more complex than they were, say, like 5 years ago.
yeah, definitely. But I don't even like. I mean, there's very few games that I like playing on mobile without a controller, just because. It's just because when you're touching the screen, you're covering up part of the screen, and you can't see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I tried Vampire Survivors on the iPhone, and I'm like, I hate this. It's just not. Sorry, that was my
Yeah.
audio cutting out and back in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. You're good.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Something went crazy. Yeah, I was saying I've played Vampire Survivors. It's great on the the Steam Deck. It's fantastic. Not so good on PC, in my opinion. Well, actually, no, it's fine on PC if you use a controller, but on a touchscreen, you can't see what you're doing. It's like you're covering up the screen.
Yeah. That's why I prefer if I am playing a game on a phone. I'd rather play like a turn-based RPG or something where I can take my time and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. yeah. I like Dragon Quest. I think 1 through 8 maybe are on mobile. Maybe 9. I don't like a bunch of them are on like iOS and probably Android. Yeah, they're all great. If you like playing games like them.
Oh yeah. No, I love them. I just my problem is I need to just finally put a memory card, like an SD card, inside my phone. Never bothered to, so I'm just running off of like the default memory on a 2018 Android phone. So I've got 64 gigs, but it's filled with everything that my phone needs. 64 gigs disappears a lot. If I put a SD card in there, though, I would put way more games on my phone. I think phone gaming is fine. I understand why a lot of people in Asia specifically like it. Like, I mean, we say Asia, that's just where it is, like, the biggest form of gaming is in Southeast Asia, where, like, India, Thailand, Vietnam, Southern China, like, all of these places are playing on their phone. But it's big here too, right? Plenty of Americans, plenty of Europeans, plenty of people, even in Japan, are using their phones. It's fine. I understand why people got onto it. I was a little hesitant first, even though, to be honest, I've been playing phone games since 2014, so I don't know how long I was hesitant. But I was like, it'll only be these, like, RPGs and these like JPEG looking games. Right, the PNG games like Farmville, or I was playing like League of Angels Fire Raiders for a long time. But now they've gotten so good that you can't tell the difference between a phone game and a console game just looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, Plants vs. Zombies and the sequel are great games. I used to play, I was on a team on, like, there was some Transformers mobile game where I was on a one of the top rated teams. I think we got, they had like it was a competition every week, and then our team was usually in the top 3 most weeks. So then I kind of just got sick of it.
See, Fizz says, I won't play phone games because microtransactions. Well, not all phone games have microtransactions. Like we were saying, some phone games are literally just full games that people play on their phones. You can get any of the old Final Fantasy games on your phone. I think you could probably get Fallout 1 and 2 on your phone. Right? Like, you could just get games on your phone now.
Of course, there are plenty of microtransactions on console and PC games as well.
It's not like a mobile exclusive thing.
Yeah. Although some are pretty egregious. I know, what is it? Diablo Immortal is notorious.
Oh, it's awful. I had some things that were, like, really high up on the bar before Immortal came out. I think Immortal is so bad that it actually dethroned Fate Grand Order, which is quite a feat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad when you've got people have spent $50,000, $100,000 on Diablo Immortal. It's insane.
Yeah.
Utterly insane.
For negligible advances, right? Even though it was still pay to win. There was that one guy who went around the system and he used all of his, like, WoW tokens or whatever to basically pay to win in Diablo Immortal. And he was free to play, but also, like, the top PvP guy at the same time. Because he really wasn't free to pay. He just didn't pay money for all that. He had it in another Blizzard game.
Yeah, but he had to have paid money for it.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah.
Or, no, it wasn't, right? I remember, because he got most of his WoW tokens from, like, BlizzCon codes and stuff like that, and he just never used them. That was in the story. So he was still free to play, but he wasn't, right? Effectively, money was spent, even if he never spent money on it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't hear that story.
We talked about it, but it was, like, way... It was closer to Immortal's launch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you got enough of those codes that they give it on BlizzCon, you could have tons of tokens.
Oh, okay. I mean, he paid to get into BlizzCon, right?
Yeah. We could say that there was his payment. He got into BlizzCon in the first place. Nobody flies you out there for free.
Yeah. What else is going on?
Well, that's kind of it for games, I believe, that I had up here. There's a lot of... Well, no, there's one more game. And CD Projekt Red has started talking about The Witcher 4 again, which they claim has a ton more people working on it than the last game that they made, which was Cyberpunk. And they're looking to make this the biggest game in scope that they've ever made, which to me is a very unsettling thing to say in modern gaming, because anytime they tell you how big in scope things are going to be, it probably means it's not going to have half the shit they want to have in it, and the stuff that they did get into it are going to be buggy as fuck, and it's probably going to get in the way of the core gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah, how ambitious was Cyberpunk 2077?
Yeah. It eventually ended up becoming a good game, from what I've heard. I haven't played it, but people I know who play it enjoy where it is now. But it took like a whole year or so to get there.
Yeah. Not to mention, apparently, like all the bugs in the different game, but what's it? I almost said StarCraft. What's it called?
Starfield.
Starfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different developer, but same thing, because they were talking about how big in scope the game is, and it's just a problem we're seeing all across the industry right now.
Right.
Yeah. And is it another problem too is the Witcher storyline ended in The Witcher 3, like the actual canon storyline. So it's like, where do you go for The Witcher 4? Alt history? Are we doing the modern storytelling thing where we're just gonna follow adult Ciri being a Witcher? Is the game not gonna be as fun? This is already kind of like, I'm hesitant about everything involved in this game.
Well, what happened to the Witcher?
To Geralt? In the canon ending, he and Yennefer actually got together and they retired in the countryside. And then Ciri kind of continued doing Witcher stuff herself. So, like, you could continue from that, right? But it's like, is Ciri a strong enough character that you actually want to play a game following her?
I don't know. You know what people are going to say, though, if it's, The Witcher 4 starring a girl.
Yeah, she's not technically a Witcher, but she has powers and she was trained to do the Witcher's job. So story-wise, that's not really an issue. It's writing comes down to it, right? Because I think that Ciri is an interesting character. There's nothing wrong with her. I don't know. I don't trust them to be able to make a good story, especially not having really any source material to go off of. And they have bad relations with the actual writer of the books.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rick says, could you do some sort of sequel? You could, because right now the game is just codenamed Polaris. So it may not even actually be Witcher 4. It's just a fourth Witcher game. But look what happened when Netflix tried to do a prequel based on what little information about the earlier world there was. What was it called? Bloodlines or something like that? It was awful. And that's because while there is stuff that happened before the events of The Witcher, there's not really much written about it. So again, you're getting into that fan fiction territory.
Yeah.
Yes, the writer of the books does have bad relations with everyone. That is true. But he's still the writer of the books, damn it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, you're just getting into fan fiction territory. And could they end up writing good fan fiction if they really take the time? Sure. Most of the alternate pathings and stuff in the games are effectively fan fiction, and people love them. It's just a matter of, is there enough of them still working there that understand the story to write good stuff for it?
Not if it's the same people writing for The Witcher
Netflix series.
Season 3 on Netflix.
Yeah. I believe they have nothing to do with the CD Projekt Red crew.
Okay.
Which again means they could end up doing a prequel better than them, right? Because that was those same people that were messing up The Witcher that did the whole like Bloodlines thing or whatever it was called. But Yeah. They didn't. That was another crew of people that did not even listening to any consultation or advice from the creator.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's an interesting typo that Woody somehow managed to get a crying face in the middle of Fitzjozo's name.
That's funny.
So there's the subconscious response. Yeah, that's amazing. I don't know how you did that, but it's
I don't
cool.
either.
Must have been a certain combination of letters.
Accidentally just unicoded it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Rick is showing his channel.
No, that's
I'm
fine.
gonna ban you right now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just hesitant about it. I would like to have faith in CD Projekt Red. I think I was losing in it for a while, especially because I wasn't even necessarily happy with some of the stuff they did with The Witcher 3. And then just as a business, things they've been doing with GOG for a while around that. They are a big corporation. But they kind of recovered a little bit with how they redeemed Cyberpunk. So I'll hold out.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I don't want to be too much of like a hater before we even see anything. I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Oh, I mean, I know that the author had a problem with The Witcher 3, but, I mean, wasn't it pretty universally liked?
Yeah.
I mean, fairly?
I think he only had a problem with like a couple of the parts of The Witcher 3 because they just didn't seem in line. But his bigger problem than anything was that he wanted more royalties and he didn't get paid enough, so...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been successful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be complaining.
Well, I mean, The Witcher 3
But,
was so
you know.
successful, that's how Netflix even got a series in the first place.
Yeah. Wild Hunt or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because,
Yeah.
yes, they did a great job with all the Witcher games. But on the other hand, more recent games they've had trouble with. So, guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all I got for the game stuff. We got some film-related topics, which will probably take up the whole last half hour of the show. But before that,
Cool.
let me pull it up. This show's only sponsor, aside from you at home, if you want to donate to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive, is my other projects at xdynamuschaos.com. And right now, until December 15th, I'm running a limited time merch design that you can pick up. If I can find where I had that link and drop it back into the chat. But it is the 5th anniversary design for X Dynamus Chaos's mascot, Zeba. It's done in a Rumiko Takahashi-like design. I did it myself. And it costs like $26. I get most of it. And it supports me and the show in general. So definitely consider picking it up before design just disappears forever. Or, I don't know, for like a year or two until I decide to throw it back up or whatever. You never know. It's got to be random. It's got to be out of your hands.
Neuromonka says I'm too poor for Zeba.
Aren't we all? But into the film talk. I wanted to try to squeeze some comic talk in, but there's just nothing going on in comics right now. Nothing good anyway, or worth talking about. But we do have some film-related things. Disney is dying. I mean, actually, all of Hollywood is kind of dying at the moment, as we've said, but
Yeah.
Disney even worse. So they did not have a single billion-dollar movie in all of 2023. Which, I mean, hearing the word billion-dollar movie already sounds like a movie made too much money. But despite having 7 in 2019, apparently in 2019, they had 7 movies that broke $1 billion globally. I don't know how much I believe that, since I think one of them was The Lion King. But we'll go with it. They did not have a single one in any of their properties this year.
Wow.
Part of it is the MCU problem, right? Like, Guardians did okay. I think it was actually the closest at $845 million. And of the movies, it's the one that deserves to be the closest. I watched it and I'm like, this is not a bad movie. I got a few laughs out of it, had a couple good action sequences. The only thing that's really dragging it down is the fact that you could not enjoy most of this movie without having seen a whole bunch of other MCU stuff before it. Guardians doesn't work as like a standalone featurette within the Marvel Universe. But it kind of deserved what it got. Aside from that, though, everything else did bad. Let's see. Dial of Destiny came out this year. Little Mermaid. Haunted Mansion, which I heard was actually pretty good, but most people didn't go to see it because Disney had just lost that much faith from people. And, I mean, it's been a rough year. Theaters in general aren't doing as good, but that shouldn't affect how bad Disney's doing. Normally, even when people aren't going to the theaters, they still go to see Disney stuff, right? Quantumania sucked. Elemental sucked. The Marvels is like the lowest grossing Marvel movie since like even after the Incredible Hulk. Like the Incredible Hulk movie did better than the Marvels, and that was Universal just at the beginning of the MCU. Yeah, it's not looking good.
And there's apparently this Wish movie is doing very poorly.
Oh yeah, awful.
And you know, people are saying, "Oh, but it's so wonderful." It's like, yeah, but it's a woke movie. I mean, you know, it's a overthrowing the patriarchy movie. People don't want to see that. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think even the bigger problem too is it's a lazy movie, right? Because honestly, I tell you, I don't really care about the politics of the movie too much as long as it's not lazy, right? And that even includes like your politics could be completely different than mine, but a good movie won't lecture. They'll find some other more creative way of getting the message through, right? It's just in general, it's a lazy movie. There are like entire scenes where you have bad camera shot angles that don't capture the emotion of the scene just because they don't want to have to like properly figure out how you're supposed to render the movement of horse, like how its four legs are supposed to work with each other and stuff. Like it's just a poorly animated film. Also, hey Mike, yeah, we are on late. We might have to start moving later for anybody who missed that early just because of schedules changed. Marsupial's got a new job, and the fact that like he lives in a place that doesn't do daylight saving, it's gonna have to. We're probably just gonna look for a more permanent time so I don't have to jump back and forth between daylight saving.
Yeah, because if we did it too early, we'd have to change it in the spring when you know. My state, like normal people, doesn't change the time, and then all you crazy people change your time. It's really
it's about half and half across the world, so I don't know if there's any normal people that do it, but I prefer the way your state does it. I wish more would be like that. I want to lobby my state to get rid of daylight saving.
Yeah, you and all the 48 states that do the crazy daylight saving thing.
Who's the other one that doesn't do it again?
What? Hawaii.
Hawaii? Okay, that's the one that makes the most sense, too. Because it's so far disconnected from everything else.
Yeah. Oh, sorry if you saw my foot there.
Yeah, and that is the big problem with it. It's so lazy. So, like, Asha and the king and stuff, they don't actually become the fairy godmother and the magic mirror. They do and they don't, right? Because it's not actually directly connected. They're all references, because this movie was supposed to be the celebration of like Disney's 100th year or something, so it has to have all these different connections that are connections, but they're also isolated from the other movies too, so they don't drag them down. But it just makes everything awful in the movie. It's lazy. It's done really bad.
Well, do you want to hear how awesome, apparently, I mean, I was actually surprised when he said this, but how awesome 2019 was, especially for Disney?
Yeah. How awesome was it?
Well, the number one movie that year was Avengers Endgame, made $2.8 billion.
Yeah. It was highly anticipated movie.
Other movies that broke a billion. Yeah. Other movies that broke $1 billion in 2019, The Lion King. Actually, this is just all the movies that broke $1 billion in 2019, but I think they're all Disney. Frozen 2. Where are they? Oh, Spider-Man: Far From Home. I guess that was Sony, but still Marvel, and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Actually broke 1 billion, amazingly. And Joker, that was a DC movie.
I think I lost your audio.
There we go. Am I
Oh, there you
back?
go. Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I think there's a slight delay,
Right.
so you have to wait until you hear my response to it.
Okay, sorry about that. Oh, I skipped one. Wait, no, that was 2017. God, still over 1 billion. Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker, and Toy Story 4. Man, what a year! Aladdin,
Yeah.
the remake of Aladdin.
No, here's the problem. I don't believe half those movies. Even including global. I don't, right? The problem is, like, even living at that time, and I do think most of that does come from global, right? Because there's less press about it. But looking at that time, even hearing about, like, some complaints from other people around the world, but also looking at people, like, showing the theaters when they're in it, some of those movies were, like, clearly cooked.
You think?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Captain Marvel, did a lot of people probably go opening weekend just because it was a Marvel movie that was sandwiched in between Infinity War and Endgame? Sure. But we saw tons of evidence of, like, booked theaters that were empty on Captain Marvel specifically. Lion King, opening weekend, maybe really good. Critically panned movie, right? Aladdin, maybe that one might be closer, but also kind of a panned movie after the first week. And you can't make your billion in just the first week. It's got to be throughout the whole, like, month runtime that you're doing if you're gonna do that. I just don't believe half of those movies on there, and I think that actually might be more of what we're seeing, because since then, Florida did an audit on Disney and their properties. I don't think they can lie or cook the books as much as they did before.
Yeah. Well, I know that they are being investigated for some sort of illegal gifts or something having to do with the Reedy Creek Special District. I try to follow the legal mindset he's been talking about that.
Yeah.
But there may be some Disney executives that are in actual, like, criminal legal trouble.
And yes, Mike, you did hear an echo there. We're just we're working with what we can. Marsupial's out of town, didn't bring his headphones. But also answer, we did not talk about the Comixology essentially shutting down and merging with Kindle. I think we actually covered it when it was first announced, but I guess to pick that back up real quick, I did want to squeeze something comic in here, so I guess that works. It's coming on December 4th. It will finally have shut down Comixology. If you had a login for it, you don't have to worry. Everything's being transferred to your Kindle Reader account on Amazon, which the Kindle phone app is not as good as the Comixology app. The Kindle web reader is way better than the Comixology web reader. That was always the weakest part of that service. It had a very shit web reader. Your boy Zach would complain about it all the time. I had a lot of comics on there. I basically only ever used the app on my phone if I could.
Yeah. Well, it was made specifically for comics, where it would, like, zoom in on a panel, right?
Well, all the guided reading is still going to be in the Kindle reader, so you don't have to worry about that.
Is it?
Yeah, they said it was in there.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't have any.
You get, like, a notification too that tells you how to do it in the Kindle app, like the first time you open up a comic.
Oh, okay. I don't have any comics on Comixology.
I have some of my own comics on there, but then I looked, I'm like, how many comics do I have in my library? So I went over to my reader, and I'm like scrolling, and then I'm scrolling, and then I'm still scrolling, and like, I've got at least a couple hundred comics on the, which you think like, that sounds like a lot, but comics, they'll add up fast, especially if you've got more than one issue for a title. Like, they start to stack up really, really fast. I think the app stopped loading before I got to the bottom of how many comic titles I had on there. But they have a really good search function, so if I was in the mood to read something, I could just type it in and it would get me the comic for it.
So, were those all individually purchased?
There was a mix of me purchasing and some of taking advantage of deals and stuff. Because if you're really, really good at getting on and looking for it, Comixology used to give away free comics quite a bit. And I'm like, I want those free comics. I'm going to be on here every single time that they're giving away a free comic. All of those are still in my library.
Wow.
But I did purchase quite a bit. I read comics, you know.
Oh, I know, but no, I was just curious because I didn't know if Comixology did like, subscriptions or.
Oh yeah, you can do that
how.
too. Right, but the way the subscription works is kind of like subscribing or like having a pull list, right? Or also like subscribing to a magazine. So if you sub for like the year, and they'll just give you every volume for that year as it comes out, so you don't have to worry about it. But it's not like like Netflix or something, right? You don't lose access to it when you stop subscribing. That you just basically preemptively paid for the individual issues.
But you also don't get like every comic ever made like on their entire system.
No, they do have a service like that though. They had Comixology Unlimited, which was a version of the Kindle Unlimited, which obviously they're just merging those into one service now. So if you get the Kindle Unlimited, there is a large portion of comics that are just available to you as long as you continue paying for that service.
Yeah. Well, already.
Yeah, which I used to do. It's actually
people are.
It's how I read the original volume 1 and 2 of Miss Marvel, because they were on Kindle Unlimited, and I always heard people talking about it, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna read this thing and see what it is. And I didn't think it was horrible. I actually thought Kamala was a decently likable character in her first volume, and she the problem with it is that it just wasn't a superhero story, right? Even though there were superpowers and stuff. It was more like a YA fantasy novel, and it doesn't read well issue to issue either. Like, I can understand why nobody likes that story for the most part. You have to read it as a trade paperback, and then it reads like a chapter book in that way. And then you have to be like, I'm not reading a superhero story, I'm reading a YA fantasy. And if you read that, it fits in the genre. And that's what I think is the problem with this character. This character just doesn't work in Marvel, and will probably never work as a Marvel character.
Yeah. I mean, they could, but they would have to reimagine her with a better writer. And then they'd probably have a lot of complaints that it's not the same character anymore.
Yeah. But it's, I worry more about it as, like, how difficult is it going to be for me to get my stuff onto it now? Because I have digital versions on Kindle, and I had digital versions of my comics on Comixology as well. It took longer to get it on Comixology because they had to do the whole little guided reader thing. All the old books that had guided reader are still doing that. I don't know if they're going to continue doing that with new publications. Or if they'll do some type of Kindle Create thing where you can make your own guided reader. The Kindle Comic Creator has a way for you to do that, so maybe they're just going to expect you to do that from now on. But it's like, do I have two competing versions of my comics now that there's a Kindle version and a Comixology version in my Kindle? And if I want to get new stuff on there, how do I have to do that? Because the process was smoother for Comixology, even though it was quicker for me to get it up on Kindle. It's like, I don't... it's going to be seamless for users. That's not the problem. If you're just a reader, this is actually probably an upgrade for you, honestly, because the app has just been getting worse over years since Amazon took over Comixology.
Yeah.
But as a creator, I think it might be worse. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to see. It's one of the...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
one of those things, marking the 101st death knell of comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Get good, physical comics from Indiegogo or Fund My Comic.
Yeah, or if you want a digital comic, if it's indie, just go talk to the creator. Most of them will probably just sell you a PDF directly.
Yeah. Apparently my copy of Wraith of God 2 has just been shipped.
Oh, nice.
I got a direct message directly from Shelley Lepresti saying they've shipped my comic. She's nice. She likes me on Twitter. She
Yeah,
follows me.
speaking of being able to pick up comics directly, you go to Indie Planet and you can just pick up like Realms and Relics or any of my stuff. It's available. You can get my stuff in print, and it does support me. And they're fun. I mean, look,
Yeah.
these pages. They're fun pages.
And they can't take it away if it's a physical copy.
No, they have to like march down to your house and burn it in front of you or something.
Yeah. They have to be like, look, Comixology is closing. We're taking away all your books, even the ones you've got in here.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily they're not taking away though, right? They're at this point anyway.
No.
They're just transferring it. Amazon's actually been pretty good about most things. I think there've been a couple things that they've banned from their site, but they haven't gone full ban hammer on anything really. I mean, heck, they still let what's it called? Mein Kampf be sold on Amazon in certain areas. It's like,
Yeah.
if they let that be sold, I don't really think they're gonna be banning too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a book.
No.
Nothing illegal about it. What is Fizzoso asking? How much does it cost to sell a game on a phone?
Most of the
I
time,
mean-
absolutely nothing. They'll
I mean,
take like
nothing
royalties.
compared to nothing compared to what it costs to build a game for the phone.
What's Google Play right now? I think they're a little bit lower than what Sony or it's not Sony. It's Valve and Apple take. I think they're like 28% because I think Apple's like 33 or something like that.
Yeah, you know what the crazy thing is? In order to get a developer license to sell games on Google Play, you pay $25 single time, one time, lifetime. You've got an account. For Apple, you have to pay $99 every year. You have to renew it. So
Yeah.
it's $100 a year on iOS just to start.
Well, I get why Android does it too, because it gets rid of a lot of scammers. It turns out for most things, they even found out like one of the big problems with people abusing systems of like say healthcare in countries that have free healthcare is to get rid of the abuse. All you have to do is put a minimum $20 copay on it, right? Because $20 seems to be like the minimum amount to stop people from just abusing free shit. Right, and it's a very low amount. Like anybody can afford like a $20 copay. So it's like if you want to just stop like botting or anything, all you have to do is just put like this minimum amount of around $20, and most people just give up before that. Like obviously there're gonna be dedicated people that still try to abuse your system. They're like, yeah, I'll throw $25 at it, but it'll stop like 99% of your problems just having like a $20 fee.
Yeah. No, I'm not complaining about that. I mean, that's amazing. $25 one time, and boom, you can develop for life. It's the $100 a year that Apple charges. Apparently, Apple is still charging 30% for iOS apps, and Google, at least for the first
Yeah.
$1 million you make, is only charging you 15%.
Oh, that's great. And I guess I'll bring this up. Mike keeps posting it because he probably just thinks we're ignoring him. But he says that I definitely read when I co-host the historical comics retrospectives on Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. We got you.
Mm-hmm. We don't read every single chat because we try to hold the conversation. But if it has something to do with the conversation, we do try to get to stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, and apparently 30% after the first million Google
Yeah.
charges.
It's pretty inexpensive to get onto get a game onto like Android at least, and I wouldn't even say it's too bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're in the
crazy.
business of making a game, it's still not really expensive to get it on Apple. Wait,
Yeah. I mean, when my company was doing iOS development, we did make some apps and some small games. You know, $100 a year isn't bad at all, but it's just when you compare it to Android, it's like, man, I wish there was a one-time fee too, but
yeah. The big problem is like, so technically, Switch is both cheaper and more expensive at the same time.
Mhm.
So Nintendo actually does not charge you to join their program. They do ask a lot of information. They vet you to make sure like you're a real person and or business, but they don't charge you anything up front. They only take off of the game once it's been vetted and put on there. The real fee comes from the fact that your game has to be rated, which means you have to pay the ESRB ratings fee, which I think is like, what is it, like $3,000 or something like that. It's like a stupid fee.
Oh, really?
I might be overblowing it. I looked it up not too long ago because I think Fizz was asking me.
No, you're
about
right.
this. Yeah.
$3,000.
Yeah. So but once it's rated, you can go up there because that's the big vet. Is Nintendo wants to make sure all games on their system are rated, properly rated, and if you have an ESRB rating, then you are a legit game. So they don't need to do any extra vetting on there.
Now, interestingly, they charge you differently depending on how much the budget that
Yeah.
you paid to make your game was.
Yeah.
So that's $3,000
Was like the
if
minimum.
it's
or
an
something.
under $1 million.
Yep.
And it's like an expedited thing. I don't see how much they charge for more than that, but
They'll probably
imagine it's
tell
more.
you when you fill out the form or whatever, because I'm sure the budget's on there. They're just letting you know about the minimum. It's like, listen, don't even approach us if you're not ready to pay that much.
yeah, exactly. Well, alrighty
Yep.
then. But
that
so
is
do
the
you
big
have to
expense.
still have a... Huh?
I said that is the big expense. Now, I don't believe phone games need to be rated. I don't think, like, the stores might have their own rating, or they might ask you to be honest about it. But I don't think, especially because the phone apps are internationally set, that you have to be ESRB rated to get onto like Google Play.
Are you saying you do or you don't have to?
I don't think it's mandatory, because I think I've
Yeah,
seen
no,
it rated.
I don't think so. If I recall correctly, they will ask you to self-rate it,
Yeah.
self-rate your game. And yeah, but you basically will not be like you can if you have an official rating, you can include that.
Yeah, like
But
Genshin
otherwise
has a official ESRB rating for T.
Yeah. But otherwise, you don't have to. What I was going to say was, do you not have to buy a dev kit anymore to develop on the Switch?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, they used to, like, on older systems, you would have to get like a development box
Yeah.
that I guess you could test on.
Well, I think it's because like these you would still probably want to test it, but I think there's like the dev kit's more of software. So like as a developer, you can download it, put it on an SD card, and you can test your games on your personal Switch. Since basically everything's a computer with an operating system instead of just running directly off of a board like they used to.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably an emulator, and
But I could ask. Actually, he was the second to last person I interviewed on Newgrounds for Within the Underpass. But my buddy Brandon, he actually has a game on the Switch, or two. Right? So I could ask him what they had to do, but I don't think you actually need a dev kit or anything. I think it's all just software at this point, and most engines just port directly to it. So all you have to do is get it onto an SD card to test if it runs on your Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you build a game in like Unity or Unreal Engine or whatever, you can just export it to Switch and test from there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just how it works now. I think it would be the same for any of the systems too, right? If you exported it for PS5, you could probably put it on some type of memory stick that the PS5 holds, or I guess if you have external hard drive, you just plug that into your computer temporarily, put it on there, and then just boot it up and see if it runs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's never been easier, except that now games have to be more complex.
Not necessarily, though, right? Because again, look at one of the best-selling games. Stardew Valley is more complex compared to many things in its own genre, but it's like way simpler than a lot of the stuff that we've had in like the last decade.
Yeah. And interestingly, I've tried a lot of surprising number of farming games in the last 6-8 months, and very few of them are. I don't think any of them really hold a candle to Stardew Valley. Amazingly,
yeah.
Some of them are quite fun, but still.
And some of them try to make them too complex, and that's actually their problem.
Yeah. I tried this new game, Roots of Pacha, that I think just came out on the Switch.
Yeah, we talked.
But I just tried it on. Oh yeah. It's like a Stone Age farming game. There's just nothing special about it. It's really, not great. It just is.
Are there engines designed to quickly create architecture? It depends in which way, but yeah, I mean, there are tools that within engines that you can use to quickly create architecture. It's that is a thing. A lot of times you have to pay extra for those. Yeah. A lot of times you have to pay extra for those tool sets. Otherwise, you're going into like Blender and carving out buildings yourself. But there definitely are plenty of tools for that.
Yeah, there must be.
Yeah.
I don't know directly, but there are like add-ons that you can. I imagine that you have to purchase for like Unreal Engine, right? That give you...
Yeah, and I think that's actually where a lot of the future is instead of making a bunch of engines, you're just going to see like 2 or 3 that really almost like operating systems. They're going to be like the leaders of development, and instead people will start selling tool sets and add-ons for those engines, and that's where the market will be for that.
Yeah, just look at every version of RPG Maker that's ever come out. There's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of add-ons.
The Unity Soar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, that's how people make these crappy Steam games that are all just,
asset flips.
They like, they're asset flips of like demos that like come out of the box. Crazy. Well, there you go. Fizztrizzer says I have a Blender add-on to quickly create architecture.
Oh, well, then you don't need...
You don't...
Yeah, use that.
Because you could just export that as models and then just put it into the engine.
Any more news before we?
Yeah, let me look real quick because it's running later. We're not used to this time. We don't want to run too much over. Trying to see if there was anything important real quick.
Apparently, the new season of Invincible on Amazon Prime is fantastic.
I've been watching it.
Oh, really? What do you think?
Yeah.
Really
It
good?
feels all right. After like one episode, I remembered what the next arc of the series was. Because remember we were talking about, I'm like, I don't remember. Does this one come next or this one? But it answered my question as soon as I saw the next episode. But yeah, no, I was, I've been enjoying it. It,
Cool.
yeah.
I've
I
only
still
seen
don't
the
like
first
Amber.
episodes. Oh yeah. I forgot that. Like, did he get back? I think I probably asked you this
Yeah,
before. Did he get back with her at the end of the last season? I don't think so.
Yeah. Remember,
Hmm?
at the very end, after
Okay.
everything, she came with the other, or like right before the other showed up, and made up with him because of the whole like shit that he had to do with his dad and all that. Like, it kind of be a thing to lean on. But that's actually the reason why I don't like this Amber, is because her entire relationship with him seems contingent on her charitable nature, right? Like, even now, she is sweeter than she used to be, but it still feels like it's Soup Kitchen Girl is being the wall that this superhero can lean on when he's down. It doesn't actually feel... It's not like the relationship in the comic, and that's like, even though she's acting sweeter, I still don't like her because it just feels like a contingent relationship.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard from a few different people who've liked it.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. I think it's good. I'll have to wait till the rest of the season to see if they diverge too much from the comics. But the thing is, aside from the few changes, like, honestly, I don't mind the change they did to his best friend. That was even in the first one. Like, nobody cares that he's gay or anything because he's a funny character. He's not quite Wallace Wells, but he almost has like that Wallace Wells kind of thing going on to it that is like, It's okay. It's one of those changes that I think actually probably improved the dynamic of the show. And I don't care about changes in adaptations that are neutral or better. What I really care is when you change something and you made it worse, because like, what was the point of changing it then?
Yeah.
Fizz hates the Viltrumite concept. Okay. I mean, that's on you. It's people don't have to like everything. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. That's in the use where you should use that phrase, right? Not like the whole, oh, if you don't like it, you shouldn't watch it anger type thing where somebody changes something that you didn't like. If I don't know, if something's good, you still don't have to like something that's good. You know, not everybody has to like everything. The Boys is much better than the comic version. I would actually say the show version of The Boys is good. I don't like it, so I don't watch it. You know, but I'm not gonna say somebody else shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's I had some other things, but they were mostly filler stuff because I thought we were gonna stay on film for a while. Because one of the big things was Taika Waititi was in an interview recently, and he said that he actually had no interest in working on Thor Ragnarok or any of the Thor movies originally, and only did it because he was poor, had a second child, and needed the paycheck, right? Which
who was that?
the director for
bugged
Thor
out.
Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, right?
Oh.
So he did basically admit that he only did it for the paycheck. Now, in that case, I actually don't blame him. Like, if you're poor and have a second child and you need a paycheck, you'll probably do any movie. A lot of people are trying to project this onto everyone working in MCU, that they're just kind of like phoning it in and doing it for the paycheck. It doesn't seem like he did the sequel for just the paycheck either. Right? It was it was just that first one. I think people are blowing this out of control, out of proportion or anything, but he should have just never been on Ragnarok. He was not a good person to work on a Thor movie to begin with.
Really? I loved Thor Ragnarok.
I didn't.
You didn't like
I mean,
it?
I think I liked it the first time I watched it because I was just caught up with the comedy. But the more and more I watch him, like, this just doesn't feel like Thor.
Oh, all right. I
Yeah.
thought that was one of the best ones in the series.
I like the first one the most. I think that's the one that actually feels the most like a Thor story.
Yeah. Well, apparently my internet is slowly dying here, so I guess we better wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that's probably it's time to wrap up. I guess I'll answer Mike's question real quick. Did you hear that One Piece is doing a PR tour, and they apparently have something set up with the LA Rams pro football team this Sunday? No. No, I did not. That's interesting to know. So that'll be the last thing that we leave the show off with. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it out with other people. Get more people in here. We had a pretty lively show today. We'd love to see you guys come around. This is probably going to be closer, if not our permanent time. We'll see. And if you'd like to go one step beyond, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive or buy my shirt. Either helps. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yep, and regular time on Saturday. I'll be back home.
Yeah, I guess we'll bounce between that. If we do move permanently, though, we probably want both shows to be at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll let you all know. I make posts places.
Yep. See ya.